In this video tutorial, I'm gonna demonstrate how we can put together petal number 89, which is my favorite template for Dahlia. Actually, I already have listed this one on my Etsy, but the sample flower that I had there was quite just very simple, and I was just thinking, oh wow, I have that petal already, why not put different style on how to put it together. And I love Dahlia. My grandmother used to have, you know, dahlias in her garden in different colors, so I really have a very close connection to the flower. And I attempted before, you know, how to put it together, and I think I made a mistake of using, especially that time I was just beginning. I don't have much knowledge and techniques yet, and I made a flower out of cardboard that I got from the Dollar Tree, and it's way thicker than the cardstock. So I think that was the failure on my point of using that kind of paper. So as we know that materials really matter. Although, however, I really love to use the cardboard from the Dollar Tree. It's very affordable. It's 49 cents, you know, a piece, and I can make like in one sheet I can make 10. Oh no, what did my husband say? I think 25 of this larger base, the 5 inches base, and 30 inches 30 pieces for the medium size, which is 4 inches. My husband was the one who's making all the circles for me. So, and that's right, we're really a team on this one. So I wanted to show you, you know, 2 different ways on how to put this petal together. So if you are also gonna buy the SVG file, I will make sure of it that I'm gonna attach a video on how I lay out this one on a paper. In this particular Dahlia, I did eyeballing on the sizes. You know, I did not follow my own sizes because I want to constrain myself in a number of pieces of paper that I wanted to use. And on this particular one, so let's do the math. On this particular size, which is most likely like 18 inches Dahlia, I use 6 sheets of this large one, so that's 6, and I use 4 of this one, so that's 10, and I use 2, so that's 12, and I use 1 of this layout, so that's 13. So for 18 inches flower, I used 13 sheets of 8.5 by 11 paper, but the center is not included. I used the entire 12 by 12 cardstock that I get from Michael's, and I'm gonna show you also how I made the Dahlia center that I had. So first off, I'm gonna show you the first way how I made the petal on the first listing I had for this particular flower design. Pretty easy. You can make almost similar size flower for only, well, 2, 4, 6, 8, less than 10 sheets of paper. So the way how I do that is just like the normal way I do all my petals. So I make a slit, and this is the most critical part. For us, I would really advise, especially on all templates that you're making, to really do this procedure, because it would give you ease when, you know, you are putting your flower together. It will give it more shape in a subtle way, not a very harsh way. And the way how I do it, just like the rest of my other petal, just let me make the flap a little deeper. So the slit, I mean. So just like the normal petals I have, I just glue it one flap on top of the other, and then this one I curl it outward. And the way how I do it, I made it like, I arrange it this way: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. And then I made 3 layers of this, so less than 10 sheets for less likely 16 to 18 inches flower. So now I'm gonna show you how I make dahlia out of this template. And as you can see, I already made all of these things because it's a bit time consuming. It's not the easiest flower that you can make. If you have an order, it would really take time, but it's something that, because this client that I have this weekend, she doesn't need much flower, but she just, her taste is very elegant and classy, and her theme is only like shades of white and cream and gold and sage or eucalyptus green. So that's what I'm trying to play with right now. And she particularly requested of having dahlia on her flower. And that's what I told you before, that, you know, embrace whatever challenges you have, because you never know what you can do unless you tried it. I mean, I've already done this paper flower, I mean this particular design before, like as I said earlier, when I was just a beginner. The thing is, it comes to the point that I was like, oh, that's not my strongest point, so I just gave up on making the dahlia. However, this particular client requested for a dahlia, and I already accepted 50% of her down payment, and I was like, oh, okay, I think I should really just have to figure it out. So anyway, let's go back to how I make this flower. So also, as I said earlier, if you are going to buy the SVG and PNG, I'm going to show you also, I'll have a separate video on how I lay out this one. This is not my regular sizes, although I'm providing the sizes that you can use. However, as I mentioned before, if you have the SVG, my sizes is just really a guide, you know. Don't let yourself get restricted with the size that I'm giving. You know, use it as an advantage to your part, that, you know, you can play around with it with the materials you have, because that's how you are going to really, you know, be successful and run a business. I feel like if I'm restricted on something, I cannot really well perform. So if you can play around with the sizes, and I'm going to show you, as I said earlier, you know, how I lay out this one, use it as you know, an advantage on your part. So let's get started. So we have 4 layers here of this petal. This is petal number 89, and I already pre-made the rest. And we are going to use a 5 inches base, round base. And let's start with the large one. As I said, you know, curling this one softly with your dowel rod would really ensure that you have a soft, nice curl. And when you put it together, I mean, when you glue the base on it, you won't have the unnecessary crease on it. So that's what we are trying to avoid. And in this part, you'll have a very soft, nice curl. And especially with this kind of paper that I'm using, it's textured paper. For me, it's really necessary to have it you know, glide with the dowel rod first and make a soft curl. So by the way, I'm doing this one like 3 pieces at a time. So, but when you are going to assemble it one by one, as I said, one by one, you cannot do the same thing that as I used to do before, like 3 pieces at a time. This one, as I said, it's time consuming. So after you glide your dowel rod into your petals and you have this nice soft curl, hold it having the point towards you, and what you will do is to softly attempt to make a cone like so, and make it sure that this area here is aligned to the tip of your flower. And after that, just press it, pinch it flat, like 2 inches away from the base. So now you can glue it from underneath and also this side. And here's your larger petal. And each layer you would need 12 pieces. So I already did the rest of the petal on this layer, so my 11 is done. So this is the 12. Just gonna put it here. So let's go to the second layer, and again I'm just gliding my my petal with 3 larger layers. I'm using the same size dowel rod. This is my smallest on my dowel rod collection, and it's like a slight larger than a pencil size. So the same thing, like make a cone, but make sure that there's an opening in here, and then this here is aligned to your tip, and just softly but firmly press it like so, and sneak some glue underneath. The glue by the way is going underneath here, and on this side here also will be glued, and then press again. So that's the second layer. And again, on my third layer, I'm still using the same dowel rod. The way how I curl it, I position my hand this way and just glide it to form a curve on the petal. So again, make a cone, press it, and just press it. And then down to our last one. So with our last one, since it's smaller one, I use pencil to curl it. And the way how I do it, you know, I just have my hand like slightly curl and just run the pencil all over it until it gets a soft curl in it. So again, make a cone, press it, and glue it. So there you go. Our 4 layers of 12 is done. So this how all these things gonna look like. So let's set aside the smaller layers, and let's concentrate on our larger one. So this one is ready to glue into our base. So the first thing that we need to do, You can curl it all at once, but the way how I want it with my dahlia, I just want to, you know, curl it as I go. So let's try and bend a little, like 1/4 of an inch here, and just glue it. Like so. So that's our first layer. Let's go to our second. No, that's our first petal. Let's go to our second petal. And if something like this comes, all you need to do is to sneak a little glue and make sure that it's glued together. So again, I'm just gonna curl this one outward and eyeball with like 1/4 of an inch and put some glue on it and place it opposite to your first petal. Then let's proceed to our third. The same thing. Curl it outward and bend like 1/4 of an inch, and let's, like we're putting a north, south, east and west position in our base. So the reason why we are going to fold like 1/4 of an inch on the base, so that it would create like a dimension, not very flat on your surface, but you know, to elevate itself a little bit upward. And again, opposite to this one. Like so. So now, oh, by the way, if you are going to make a sunflower with, I forgot the number, petal 44, I think. This is the way how you are going to position your petals also. So now let's see. I don't have like a real measurement on it, but just eyeballing. So make sure that it's gonna get in between the two, like place 2 petals in between the 2. So once we get that, we can just go ahead and glue it to the position where we saw that it fits and equally distributed on both sides. So, and it doesn't really need to be super perfect, because that's the beauty of the flower, as I mentioned before, you know. It shouldn't be, you know, like perfect. So the way how I do this is I take 2 petals at a time, you know, to fill in between, so I can really see where I'm gonna place the petal. So again, let's see. Okay. So even doing so, I still haven't have a perfect distribution of petal, and that's okay. You know, when we fill it with our layers later, it would look better. So just curl it outward and fold some like 1/4 of an inch and eyeball it again. And just cover it. So now we're down to our 2 last petals in here for this layer. And again, fold 1/4 of an inch. I almost forgot. I mean, you don't have to do this in all the layers, but this first layer is the crucial part to ensure that you will have, you know, the best or the most even distribution, even though I don't have, but it's so much better when I'm not eyeballing it. So last petal on this layer. So now we have our first layer. Now let's move to our second layer. The same thing. Let's glue this one out and just fold a little bit and move a little outward than what we had before. So again, so now we don't have to, you know, down to our next petals, we don't really have to do the eyeballing. All we need to do is to cover the in-between gaps here with our present layer. So cover it. Then cover it. All we are trying to do here is just to really cover the gap in between. Continue. This is our 6th petal. And then 7. So just closing the gap of the previous layers. Now we're going down to our other side of the flower. As I said, this particular flower design is a special flower, and it really, you know, need time to put together. So we're almost done with this layer. And again, we're just covering the gap of the previous layer. So down to our last 2 petals. And I wanted to emphasize that as we get closer to the center of our base, our aim here is to really move inward, because we want to cover this spot here. That's what makes it fuller when it's tighter in the middle. So last petal. So now our dahlia is starting to form. Let's now go with our 3rd layer. Again, our mission is to move inward, and this time we don't really have to do any folding. Let's just fill the gaps. So as you fill the inward part of your flower, the job becomes easier. So even though the petal needs to bend a little bit more here, but you don't have to fold it anyway. So you have a choice also. You can curl the petals, all at once, or you can curl it as you go, and I prefer the second. So filling the gap, just filling the gap. And the thing is, even though I was just eyeballing with the sizes, I find that the perfect size for this project. Oops, I need to reinforce the glue of my other petal. imagine when I didn't do all the petals before we start this tutorial. Maybe that's my longest video tutorial ever. It would take like 2 hours. And to be fair also to all of you, you know, when I'm not very familiar with the flower, like this one, I just made this technically yesterday, although the petal design exists like last year. But just like you know, I'm just experimenting. So if I'm not very familiar, I would also take my time. So don't feel bad if you know, you take your time, because I really do too, you know, especially when you're just a beginner on making flowers. I mean, there are petal design that I can assemble even at my sleep, but this one, it really requires my full concentration. So almost done. Last piece for this layer. So now down to our fourth layer, and unlike the first to third, this time I'm gonna curl this one inward and dab some glue. And just move it inward like so. So 2, three, I need to glue this one again. 4, 5, 6, and 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 8. 9. 10. It's funny because you notice the outermost layer that we curled earlier, it's no longer, some are very flat because we push it, and that's okay, you know. So now we know that the first layer, you have an option. You can curl it or you can just leave it flat, because anyway it will just get flat. But some are curled, which is the beauty of it. It's not, you know, some are flat, some are curled. So, you know, just resemble with the natural flower. So, just putting it in between the gap. So now our petals completely filled with our base, and so far so good. I really like it. Let's set this one aside and let's concentrate with our center. So if you are using cricut and you have the dandelion center, no problem, you know, you can just buy it. And the way how I cut it, I cut 4 of the dandelion center into 12 by 12 paper. This one is white, like dirtyish white, and this one is almost like a cream, but light cream. So I have 4, but I already cut the rest because it also will take time. So that's how it looks like. So 4 dandelions in one 12 by 12, and I'm gonna demonstrate also. I'm gonna make another tutorial of how I lay it out, you know, to make 4 of this center to a 12 by 12 paper. But you know, I just pre-cut almost everything because it will take time, as I said. So if you don't have a cricut, that's fine. I have an alternative for you. So you need to have a 12 by 12 paper and divide it into 4. So this is just a quarter of the sheet, as you can see, and I just split it because I already have my center. This is just for demo purposes. So the first layer, all you need to do is fold this one in half and make a French out of it. So it doesn't need to be uniform, you just need to be as close as possible, like so, until the entire strips is finished. So once you have this one, you need 2 of the entire quarter sheet. You also need the outer layer. So with the outer layer, you need to have like 1/4 of an inch here, fold it so it would serve as a mark for you. And the way I do it is like this, slant, like a slanting way, and then just cut straight to the slanting part and remove it, and again cut a slight slanting way and cut straight to the final point. And yeah, I know it's, you know, it would take time to do this, but that's not how it is when you don't have a machine. But it's finer and it's nicer than the others. So that's how are you going to cut the centers that we are having. Fortunately, I have a machine, so I leave two of the, this will serve as my inner layer, and this one will be my outer layer. So let's start with the outer layer first on how I achieve it this way. So it, as you see here, this was like this earlier, but the way how I cut it is, you know, just cut it a little bit slantly and make a straight cut in here, and then again cut slant and cut straight. I don't know if you can see it, but cut slant and cut straight, slant and straight, slant and straight. You will still do some cutting, but it's not as bad as when you don't have a cutting machine, you know. So slant, straight, slant, straight, slant, straight, and then last strip, slant. So there's our second layer. Let's set aside our second layer. And by the way, I wanted to emphasize that that's the beauty of this center. There's really lots of way on how you can assemble it. All you really need to do is be creative and use your imagination on how you're going to build it up. So we are going to fold it in half and pinch the outside softly. You don't really need a very sharp edge. We didn't need it very sharp because we want it to create volume, and if you pinch it so much, you know, the little curl in there will be gone, and it's gonna be hard to create a volume out of it. So let's gonna glue it together. 1 second. I think I turn it off or something. So let's just do the other side. Fold it and just press it lightly, just enough for it to have a crease, but not too sharp that it would lose its volume, because we don't want it to lose volume. So while waiting for our hot glue, this is the same thing as what you are doing with this other when you don't have a machine. So all you need to do is, you know, my slit or my French here are a bit wide, so let's try to make it finer to get close to, you know, what Cricut would provide. And you know, like not all the people can really eyeball nicely. If you can see the way how I cut it, it's like, I'm not sure how, but it would help if you will get a ruler and then mark it this way, so that you know when you cut it, you know when to stop, and you know when, you know, where else to go. So it would have at least the closest uniform cut that you can put. So like so. So now you don't really have to, I mean, it's already folded, so you don't have to do anything on it but glue this area here, like what we're trying to do here. My glue gun is really started messing up, and I think it's starting to, it's been serving me for more than a year. I think it's starting to, you know, really act up lately. So let's continue with, you know, the outer layer. What we're doing is cutting straight and cutting slant. And this guide would really help you a lot in making sure that you're in the right track. So straight, and then now again slant, and then straight, and if you need to pull it, just pull it, no problem. Slant and straight, slant and straight. It doesn't need to be perfect. All you need to do is to, you know, get the idea of the straight, slant, straight cut. So slant again, straight. So what I'm trying to say here is that don't let the lack of cutting machine to, you know, stop you from doing creative things. All you need to do is to really be creative on how you are going to do it. And I think I'm blessed to have a genes that you know, my grandparents are very creative. I mean, it's part of our survival to really be creative and really do things on our own instead of buying it. Oh my, I think my glue gun has finally gave up. So the thing is, I have other glue gun, but this is my favorite. First of all, my mother-in-law gave this to me. And the second thing is that it's perfect on my hand size. So I have other glue gun. In fact, I have 4 extra, but I can't just live without this glue gun. I'm starting to be in a panic mode. No. Let's see. So please bear with me. As I'm trying to, you know, let my glue gun work again. My God. So you can just, I don't edit my video, so if you want, you can just forward this part that you guys are waiting for, you know, my glue gun to work again. But please, please. You cannot retire. And I think it's starting to, yeah, it's starting to build heat again. I hope it would work. Well, the thing is, here's another tip. Do not leave your glue gun plug and you're not using it. I do it very often, and I think that's the reason I abuse this glue gun so much that right now I think it's just starting to give up. No, please don't. So just, I'm sorry, I'm so sorry, just forward it, to the part that I'm gonna be started working on my center. It's not coming yet, but it's warming. I mean, I think I have the feeling it is. Ah, there's something coming out. So, oh my god. So happy. So please, let's just finish this tutorial and then you can have your, whatever tantrums you have. Just cooperate for now. So what I'm trying to do is just to glue this one together, put it together like so, and so let's do the same on this other remaining French center. By the way, I was keep on saying dandelion. No, it's not dandelion and cricket. It's marigold. Sorry. So there it is. Finally glued together. So what we are going to do now, let's make it faster before my glue gun will be fully uncooperative. So we are just trying to curl it inward like so. So the same thing that you will do, where is it? Once you glue this, what you can do is do the same. Just curl it inward. So by the way, I'm using my husband's tool. This is easier to curl. And then the same thing, just pinch it a little bit, like give a little massage, and that's what we are going to do here. We are trying to massage it in a circular way. So now we can create a center where we are just rolling it, inward towards the curl. So that's what we are trying to achieve here. And then we can start gluing the part like so. See, that's our core center. And then continue doing the same thing with our remaining center. Again, this is not dandelion, this is Dahlia. Marigold, when you are going to search it for Cricut. And for those silhouette user, don't worry. And even the Cricut user, you know, if you don't have this center particularly, I'm gonna include this on the paper or the template listing. I will include it in the attachment. So again, we are just putting it, continuing it around our innermost center. I really wish my husband is here so he can take a look at my glue gun. So there it goes. So that's our centermost or the core center of our dahlia. Now let's go to the second layer. What we're gonna do is just to curl the tip, the very tip, inward, like so. Not half of it, just the tip. Like so. And let's do the other remaining center. And I really pray, and please pray with me that my glue gun would cooperate. So the thing about this glue gun, it doesn't drip, so I really love it. So yay, it cooperates. So let's just continue wrapping it around our center while my glue gun is cooperating. Like so. And let's continue wrapping the other side, and be mindful that the curl should be inward. So almost there. And we can grab our center, our flower, and just glue our center in here. And let's try to be very generous with our glue, because we want it to hold. So now I can unplug my glue gun. Thank you for your service, but it doesn't mean you're retired. I'm just letting you rest. So don't worry if it doesn't look right. Right now we are still, you know, attempting to glue it in the very middle. But once it's set, you can then now, you know, press the outer layer outward, so you know it would cover, like the opening, this area here, we would cover it by just pressing the outer layer outward. So, and also it would show up our core center when we're doing it. So that is how our dahlia is made, and I really love it. So thank you so much guys for watching, and please pray with me for my glue gun that it will come to life again. That's my favorite glue gun. I don't know if you have this situation, like you have a favorite shirt that regardless of how worn out it is, you really cannot throw it. That's how I feel with my glue gun. We've been together for a year, so I really have a hard time to let it go. I think I need my husband to look at it. So thank you so much for watching. The tutorial will be, the listing will be posted very soon. After this tutorial will be posted. Thank you so much for bearing with me. And again, hope you enjoyed this video. Until next time. Bye.